Hello and welcome to Good Conversations. As you know, we broadcast from the studios of SKC-TV here at Salish Kootenai College. So we've been especially honored to have with us for 2 programs now Dr. Luana Ross, who became SKC's president in 2010, succeeding the college's founder, Dr. Joe McDonald. An enrolled member of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes, Dr. Ross received her BA from the University of Montana and her PhD in sociology from the University of Oregon. The author of Inventing the Savage, she taught at Montana State, UC Berkeley, UC Davis, and the University of Washington before coming home last year. So thank you again, Dr. Ross, for taking the time.
Very happy to be here.
Well, we talked about many issues last program, including funding challenges, among which is something that's been in the news a fair bit here locally, and I know many of our viewers are going to want to hear a little bit more about the flooding issues here at the college. What's going on?
Well, the hydrologist could probably explain better exactly what's going on. It seems as though there's 3 or 4 key things happening at the same time, including record water this year, and everybody in the Pablo area is having problems with water, so we're not an isolated case. But what is the isolated case is the amount of water that is moving water that's running through the basement of the IT building. And so we thought it was going to be an easy fix, and typically in September the groundwater starts to go down, and that's not the case this year. So it's October, it's still high. The good news is it's not moving as quickly. And we started out with 6 pumps pumping, I can't remember how many gallons a minute, so I'm not even going to venture a guess, but it was substantial. And so now we're down to just 2 pumps. And so we feel like we have a handle on it. Because at the beginning, it was 1 step forward and 2 back, or 1 forward and 10 back. So we feel like we have a handle on it, and the idea is to get it dry and then to fill it up with cement. But in the meantime, we discovered mold in our student housing. Yeah, and so that is a health issue, a safety issue, and so we're immediately remedying the mold. We went with a company that was very green and eco-friendly, so it would be safe for the students. But before we could do that, we had to kill the hobo spiders. So we had to find the eco-friendly company to come in because we couldn't send the mold remediation team in because of the hobo spiders. So it's one thing after the other. And right now it's probably $200,000 that it's going to cost us, and I think that's just for the mold remediation. That's leaving out the expense of the IT building. And so we're trying as best we can to find some disaster relief money, grants money anywhere, to help with that situation. Yeah,
well I imagine that a college faces these unexpected expenses coming up like this, and it's one of the difficulties of being in such a kind of stressed financial position all the time, isn't it?
Oh, it's huge, and I think about it all the time. And any committee meeting that I'm in, they're talking about it. It's not just the IT building committee that's talking about it. Everybody is talking about it. It's a huge stress.
Yeah, I imagine. And are there opportunities that are developing for basically creating a greater financial buffer for the college?
Well, I would hope that that's the case. And the board of directors is seriously talking about this, as well as the foundation board is talking about how they can help us during these trying times.
Well, that's good. I mean, I appreciate you filling in our viewers about this important issue here that's facing the college. So let's touch on some of the other things that are going on here. Maybe we can just go through some of the developments that are the state of different departments, I guess we could say, here at the college. Native American Studies.
Oh, Native American Studies. I'm really pleased that we hired 2 new faculty this year. And what Carmen Taylor, the Vice President of Academic Affairs, and I talked about at the onset of last year was how we could improve that program. And so we put a lot of money and a lot of effort into that. And what we decided we needed was a historian. And we were thinking about the different kinds of history. There's legal history, there's oral history. I mean, as you know, there's many different kinds of history. But we put the call out for a historian, and then we let the applications lead us in a direction. And so we hired somebody who does tribal preservation. And so that's one kind of history. And that program that he is developing will be the only one in the nation that we know of. And so that's great. I know the tribes have expressed an interest in training people to know how to do that. And then the other person that we hired is a legal historian, and that's Sharon Knoll. So she does a particular kind of history, and then Jeff Bendermer does a particular kind of history. So they have different strengths, but they will really strengthen our Native American studies. Terrific. And then as well, we have the Kootenai languages, the Salish languages. We're looking for money now to beef up the whole languages. I would love to have a language institute. And then we still have Eva Boyd, who's working with us. We have Linda King. They do the arts. Who else is over there? Well, Mike Dawson, he does the federal policy.
I see.
Right. And Debbie Corville.
Terrific. Well, that's exciting. And what about social sciences?
Well, social sciences, unfortunately, we're losing John Dimitrovich, a much beloved professor here, the only sociologist, and he's decided to retire in December. And so he did a lot here, and that's going to be a huge void. So we really need to think about finding some money for another sociologist, specifically sociologist. But we do have an excellent psychology department and an excellent social work department. Our social work department worked with the state this past year looking at teen pregnancies, and they were doing research for the state. They did such a great job. I was very proud of them. And the psychology department has been a department of 2. And the amount of work that they turn out for a department of 2 is amazing. And they're very, very good. In fact, they train their students so well. We had a guest on campus who was lecturing to a group of students, and she said, you must compliment your psychology department because whatever they're doing, their students were the most critical thinkers of the group.
Wow.
And so good for us.
Right.
But that's a program that we're hoping to build.
Yeah. And it seems particularly interesting to me with psychology. Is there an effort within the college to make it particularly relevant in some way or connected to Native issues and communities?
Yes, both Professor Carol Baldwin and Professor Frank White are very interested in designing their curriculum and their research around those ideas. In fact, Carol Baldwin will be lecturing today on Indigenous research methodologies along with Lori Lambert.
And Lori teaches in which program?
Well, Lori teaches everywhere. Lori teaches in the social sciences. She's also an RN. She's our Moodle master. She teaches Native American studies, so she teaches everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and when the college is looking at expanding faculty or attracting new faculty, where does the funding come for that stuff?
Well, you can get Title III money to build programs. It's just that Title III money, they have cutbacks too. And so we're going to meet next week to find out exactly where the federal money will let us hire and where they will let us build. So to date, I don't know. We just heard that we were granted X number of dollars. Now we need to sit down and look at the list of what they're going to allow us. And so there are different ways that you can get money, grant money, is another way that you can build departments, but that can be a house of cards. For example, we have several departments that were built solely on soft money. It's only a matter of time before the money drives up. Then what happens with those departments?
Sure.
If you can't find money from the general fund for them, you're in trouble, hence the house of cards.
Yeah, yeah. And the federal funding picture is pretty challenging right now.
It is challenging.
Yeah.
Good word to use for it. It's challenging. Yeah, it is. It's challenging.
Yeah.
And so to me, our priorities are to keep the quality of the programs where they are now, and always the student success, the various departments that go into student success. We get students that are labeled at risk. I think it's 70% of our student population need to go into some sort of remedial classes. But when you compare that to the nation, it's not as daunting, because 40% of all students looking US-wide need a remedial class sometime. And so that's high for everybody.
Right.
But for us, it's higher, and it's not just Native students, it's Native and non-Native students that come to us. And so it takes them a year or longer to get up to speed to be able to sit into college level classes.
Yeah.
So I think we do a tremendous job.
Well, no question, and it's a particular challenge. I mean, in some ways, colleges in general, but tribal colleges in particular, with the figures you just mentioned, are expected to kind of make up for some of the shortcomings of the educational system all the way up to that point.
They are, and we have Steve McCoy, who heads up those efforts, and he does an excellent job, but you can imagine it's a daunting task.
Oh, amazing. It's almost like an encompassing social service agency as well as an educational institution.
It is, yeah.
And how is it looking with the federal budget stuff?
Well, so far so good.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't need to predict. They told us right away there were going to be budget cuts, and so we got ready last spring for those. But we didn't have to cut anybody. But the Budget and Planning Committee, we still feel like we're ready for anything that comes down the line. AHEC keeps sending out messages saying, you know, the next 3 to 5 years is going to be really bad. You need to prioritize where the cuts are going to come. And we feel like we're one step ahead. We're already ready for that. And we're already looking at alternative ways to fund to keep people. So I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah. I've always wondered if the Hellgate Treaty's provision guaranteeing education for tribal members can't be turned to as a leverage point or something.
Well, Tom, how would one use that as leverage? Would you present it to the governor? Or
I don't know. Maybe
have
we're
our
talking
governor?
lawsuits or
yeah,
something.
right. But yeah, that's a good idea. We could have our governor present it to the state governor. Yeah, Bud Moran.
Well, with that harebrained idea, let's take a quick break. To our viewers, please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in 90 seconds. And welcome back. We're continuing our conversation with Dr. Luana Ross, President of Salish Kootenai College, and thank you again for taking the time to be with us.
Yes, Tom.
So we were ticking through some of the departments, some of the things that are going on in them. What about humanities and arts?
In the arts, our beloved Professor Corky Claremont has decided to retire. He wants to do more of his own work, and so hooray for him. And so in December, Corky is retiring. We have a new department head coming in, Karen Goulet, and she's presently at White Earth and the head of their art department there. So we're very excited to welcome Karen. She'll be on in December. They have a fantastic program that Corky has organized, mostly around adjunct and part-time faculty, but they're very well known and they're doing great. So we expect Professor Goulet to take it with the same energy and in the same direction that Corky's done.
Well, it's hard to imagine Corky being more productive than he's already been with a full-time teaching load. It's incredible what he turns out.
It is incredible, and we hope he'll come back. Well, he's promised to come back and share his work with us and give guest lectures and so on. So, so good for SKC because he'll still be around. And then Alex Alviar in humanities, I'm looking forward to his lecture. He will be giving a lecture at the theater in the President Lectures series. And I have heard he is an amazing poet. And they have a lot of writing that goes on over there. They have formed a writing group. And so it would be really nice to have a whole series around the humanities faculty and the work that they're doing there.
Yeah, absolutely. What about in the hard sciences, math? Those
they're excellent, absolutely excellent, and they continue to be a draw for students and for the big bucks. There's a lot of federal money that is specifically earmarked for engineering, math, and science, and that continues to be the case, and so I'm not worried about cutbacks in those departments. In the life sciences, which is fairly new, a new department, they have a new lab that has gained attention because it is a fantastic facility. In fact, I guess it rivals some of the larger mainstream institutions. And so I feel really good about what's going on there. Of course, the natural sciences and forestry, they're always doing well. The University of Washington continues to recruit our students from those departments for graduate school, which is really good for us.
Absolutely. And you know, I'm thinking too, you mentioned engineering, and the Kerr Dam takeover is coming right up, and one of the provisions in the agreement was to train tribal members in skills related to the operation of the dam, which naturally involves engineering. I wonder if the college is going to be tying into that in some
Yes,
fashion.
the college is, and they are developing their curriculum with that in mind, and we now have 2 hydrologists on board. And so we are indeed training people to work in our community.
Terrific. And what about some of the other programs that are lesser known that go on at the college? SKC Press, for example.
Oh, SKC Press. I am so excited that Bob Biggert is still here. I've known Bob for decades by now. He helped me do historical research when I didn't know what I was doing. And it was a good lesson, and he is a great guy. And so he volunteers his time to run the press. And so I've reorganized the press. Tom happens to be one of the members of the press.
Full disclosure.
Along with Deborah Erling and Jennifer Green, and Corky Claremont is still a member. And so we are reorganizing with a new mission in mind and how better to serve the community through SKC Press. So I'm very excited about that reorganization. The other institute that well, there are several institutes, but the one that I'm thinking about now is the one that Julie Kajun heads up with Heartlines. And she has so many projects ongoing at all times that it's kind of hard to keep up with her. But you can go to the website and click on her link, and she actually has videos and updates of what she's doing.
Yeah.
So she has the Parallel Histories project that is looking at sovereignty in different ways through different legal scholars and historians. And she has the music project, which she finished. What else does she have going on?
Well, this is a good example, isn't it, of a program that, in a way, SKC is stepping into its position as a national leader in Indian education.
Absolutely, and she is doing that and continues to win awards, and so she's very good for the image of SKC.
Yeah. Well, let's touch a little bit more on the physical plant at the college. We talked about flooding earlier.
Yeah, we did.
We'll leave that behind us now.
Right.
The library expansion was just completed.
It was, and I love the library. I think any library is the heart and soul of a campus, and so I love coming to the library, but the new addition is just absolutely great. And I need to compliment Fred Knoll, does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
One of the things that really struck me that's very different about the SKC library is when you come in, there's a children's corner that will greet you. And children in here all the time with their parents who are students. Most libraries want the kids out,
Right.
especially on campus, but not here.
Yeah.
So that's great.
That's really interesting, and
It is.
In a way, it reflects the cultural orientation of the college, doesn't it?
Yes, it does,
Yeah.
and it's just great. I always want children to feel welcome here, which is why I invite the Inkusum kids to come here every year to sing with us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Future students, anyhow, huh?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I said I'm going to get him a T-shirt that says Future SKC Student.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I ran into Fred the other evening looking at the expansion, and he mentioned that it's filled up all the time.
All
So,
the time.
yeah.
It's great. It's so nice to come in and see students in here and community people.
Yeah.
That it's open to community people is great. But we also have a new education building, and that's great. That's been a long time coming for those people, and they're excited to move over there. We've remodeled the old bookstore. I said it won't matter what we name it, it'll always be called the old bookstore. And then we have a wing that's going on the new bookstore. And the USDA has funded a new building for Virgil Dupuy, who does a lot of research for us here. And so those are the new buildings that you'll see.
That's wonderful. And the education building, describe the program, the education
Well,
program.
they have an early childhood development program and then elementary ed. And Cindy Odell is the chair over there. She does a fantastic job. And they're always involved in research in the community and with students, which is exactly what SKC is hoping for with departments. And so it'll be really nice for them to have some space in which to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's wonderful. And I'm sorry to say we just have a few minutes left, but in these few minutes, I'm wondering if you can tell a little bit about what you love most about your job.
Oh, what I love most about my job is just being in an academic setting. I love academia. I love being in an academic setting. And it's so great for me to be home. I still feel honored and very pleased to be at SKC. I am most pleased with the faculty and staff. They are stellar individuals. They are hard workers. And I couldn't ask for a better job.
Yeah. And what about the relationship of the college with the larger community here on the reservation? What's happening in that area, would you say?
Well, I think that the college has developed a very good relationship with the community, and what I'm doing is pushing it a little more around the research aspects, and so I'm encouraging faculty to do more research in the community and with the community, and to make sure that students are always involved in those research projects, so that the academic community is really a larger community, not just the campus.
Yeah.
And I think that's great.
Yeah. And are these is there some sense in which a lot of these projects are going to contribute to the development of certain policy on the reservation?
Oh, I would hope that they would influence policy.
Yeah.
You know, for example, the research that I think Roger Diltz was in on now with Doug Stevens and Katie McDonald when she was a student, looking at the mercury level in the fish. I would hope that that would influence policy.
Yeah. Are there ways that the students can or go before the tribal council with projects, things of that nature? Are there classes in which they end up doing that?
I'm not sure if there are or not, but that's a really great idea. To me, it's once you learn how to do research and the whole research process, when you're a naive student, it seems very daunting. It's a way to empower the student, and then to have them go to council and present that, you know, takes a certain amount of courage maybe, but what a great way to empower the students.
Absolutely. Touching on the council again, I think some people in the community always wonder what is exactly the relationship between the tribal government on the one hand and the college on the other.
Well, what I have a very good working relationship with the tribal council, and what I do is I update them on what we're doing and ask their advice certainly, and I'll be going in the next couple weeks to visit with them about our institution review board and our protocol, and to ask their advice about our protocol, but just to update them.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. And in the last minute we have, is there anything you'd like to just say to our viewers about the college, about looking into it more or learning about it more?
Right. I would love everybody in the community to come to the school, just to visit the school, to take a tour. I think people are surprised when they haven't been here for a while how much we've grown, and to come and sit in on classes, to audit classes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for the time, and it's been an honor to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Okay. To our viewers, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. And remember, if you can, contribute to SKC-TV to keep this and other local programming on the air. Thank you for watching.
Level stukken sedic skersessen jo numten. Stukken siar stukken skul stukken skelichten nu wewitsten. Du takkesen septemsten stukken nu wewitsten. De meek ook kaskakken tutnumstem. Stukken tilkechult emotion was jout kwantes. Ze stukken jo nun. Tamaka ult skelig. Takekes hoistum, tapis takekes tutik pot luis noon. So could say, we at wow, to go etchness quite me. Yes, me may Louis the person could quite them. We at wow. Lamb struck as chilos dam. Look as goldstum took and gold must look as scaly. Lamb, she hoy.